First of all, welcome. As you might have read in the title, today I want to talk about the use of the iPad and modular, and telling a bit about the background, why I'm using it like that and what is happening. There are of course many ways to come to the goals that everyone wants to individually achieve. So that's actually my way here, and you can see and also have a look if you might take something out of it, even though it's not related to using the iPad at the end, but maybe anything else, because some things are also universal usable, I think. So actually the first thing is, let's talk a little bit about the background, like how did I came to use the iPad in general, and what's my personal way with it. So for me it was actually years ago when I used mainly electron boxes. I used it already for mixing. At this time I got an audio interface with I think 6 stereo inputs. Yes, so I could basically mix my electron boxes together, and I hooked up the iPad, and at this time already used the app you're seeing here actually. It's called AUM and it's an mixing canvas. It's an audio mixer that you can totally personalize to your own needs. And sorry, since the iPad becomes or the tablets become more and more powerful, there are of course also more things possible to do with them. So my idea was to really replace my computer MacBook that I had with a tablet. For me it's still fascinating to use the tablet, which the touch surface, and maybe for I don't know, the younger generation it's not a thing, or but for me it's still fascinating how these things work, and it has definitely a different feel to it than working with a computer. It has with the gestures and everything you can make, and it has already a different feeling. It feels more related to hardware than a computer, even though you can of course hook up several controllers and make also a computer basically in a hybrid setup, and interact with it in a way where you attach hardware to it. So my idea was replace the MacBook, which I at this time had one from 2012, and I was really on the path and thinking, is the iPad already powerful enough to really replace it? And the MacBook I had at the time did really work well for most of the tasks, but it got weaker, and with that also came problems. So it was actually 2019, I guess, or 2020. So I replaced that was the last one you could open, and basically to also put the RAM inside and the SSD, which I did for myself as an upgrade. So the speed and stuff was still fine, but there were problems here and there, and then I needed to think about to get a new one. And so long story short, I got the iPad 2018, the Pro version, and also in the big 12.9 format. That's again a very personal decision I made for myself, because I try to use apps and stuff on a smaller format when I had the chance to try it out, and it was too small. Was actually too small. So for me it was clear that if I want to do my things as I like to, like also working with apps, sound apps, and also different other apps on the iPad, then I go with the big model, and so I came to the iPad and I used it frequently. Also used it for my music, and still it was pretty early, and that was also not everything possible I was looking for. And I decided at some point, and that was another thing, there were not really good mixing solutions out there. So that's also something to have in mind. When I started with it, the market for like small, compact mixing solutions was basically not really there. I mean, you could have the bigger ones, Mackie Mixer and or Soundcraft, which I also used, also tried that out. But there was nothing like the Blue Box, for example, which then came out, and I thought like, okay, that's a thing. I want to try that out. So I got the Blue Box actually and started mixing with it, and also it worked good. It worked really good. It was just the fact that sorry, I'm still a bit struggling with a cold I just had like for 2.5 weeks. I don't know, whatever. So I got the Blue Box exactly, and I worked with it, tried it out, and was okay together with the also with the Electron gear, and yet there were a few things already where I was like, nah, if I might miss that, for example, like a drive unit or different performance effects or anything like that. And of course also the fact that I was supposed to record everything inside and then getting it out to a DAW, for example, multi-track, it was not the favorite thing for me, to be honest. And parallel, I still worked with the iPad and tried to integrate it further, and also tried to use it as a sound source, and the time was there when I had the opportunity to get a better model actually, because Apple also introduced the silicon chips, which are really changed a lot and are pretty powerful. So with the lagging power that my iPad at this point had, I tried to replace it with this one now, which is a M1. I think it's 2020. It turned also out that the Blue Box, when I started with Eurorack, was also not really great, because I got in the beginning 3 modules. Was the assimilator, the Metron, and the Volterra, so I could already start doing things, and I really wanted to start making music actually. And the first mixes I made with the Blue Box, and then I needed basically to plug in all the cables from the individual tracks all the time, have my breakout cables from the Blue Box, and I could already tell that for like being mobile and flexible and playing gigs, that that's not really a good solution actually. It's not really a good solution. Now it came to my mind. At this time, I still had the old iPad. So this iPad came later. So I still had the old iPad, and I was like thinking, how can I do this now? I have this mixer and I have my Eurorack and I have the Blue Box, but I'm not really happy with everything. So for me, it was like I wanted to have everything in my box and have it flexible somehow. So and I wanted to start making music and actually start playing. So I made some researches and came to the ES9 actually, and I was already a demo with an iPad together and how this works. And also the fact that you can integrate basically things inside the iPad with the Eurorack, like having a back and forth conversation. That was really great. Alone this idea, because I got more and more into modular with the MyRack app and the Pico System 3. I had hardware and software, and I tried with the software, especially during the pandemic. I tried different sequencers and different things, and I just like that I can come to the results I wanted to in a fun way actually. And that's also when the decision was okay. When the decision was okay, I start building up a compact rack, and of course also a friend that was already into modular and was saying, you need to start making music with modular. I mean, you like to, he somehow had a sense for that. And I was thinking, it's also pretty expensive, right? So, but I started, and I really liked it. And then now saying expensive, that was basically also a solution or a thought. When I started with the Eurorack, I was actually thinking about like how could my future system look like, and I was also with the iPad. I was like, no, I do not do that now. I want to mix with this Eurorack stuff because it's just fun, and it's still fun. So whenever I get to Eurorack places where mixers are and stuff, it's great. It's really great. Nevertheless, that was my thought at this point already. If I want to create a mixing environment that I really like to work with, also in terms of capabilities, not just in terms of like fun factor, let's say, then also in the capabilities, that the market was also again pretty limited. So there were a few mixers there actually, but for me it was, for example, criteria. I wanted to have at minimum 2 stereo send and returns, or at least having a mono send and stereo returns. And then you basically have this mixer, and next to the mixer you need a compressor or a drive unit, and that's also something. You have the send and return, and you have delay, reverb, and drive units you basically can use per voice. So you can, if you want to have drive units of different tracks, then you start either using the drive units in the modules if they have them, or you really start installing like several modules with drive, and my mind went a bit crazy, or not crazy, but it did blew up, and then I was like, yeah, okay, shit, there's no way I'm gonna get this together in one case, in one compact case actually. And that was my main criteria, to like having the options that I want, but also have just one case and I can perform with. So that's actually the background where the iPad then came in, and I like I said, I was like, oh no, I don't know, shall I do that actually? And at the end I was thinking, ah, fuck it, I try it out, because it's at the end also just another module that you hook up to your system basically. So that was a bit like the thing that then switched my mind a little bit also, that I was like, yeah, okay, you have technical stuff and you have technical stuff, so you hook it up to each other and then let's go, you know. So and I tried it out, and in the beginning I was really just using the iPad as a mixer with the app here. It just did not happen any sound generating from the iPad. It was really just tracks mixing, and that's it. So in the first videos, if you see it, also the iPad was just standing around. That was also for a reason, because I wanted to start in the beginning really focusing on the modular stuff, not on the iPad. So that was basically just a backup mixing system that, not a backup mixing system, was my main mixing system, but it was basically under the hood, let's say it like this, under the hood. So I had my control here, and that's what I always already did know from my past setups, that for me it's good to have control over several things. So I didn't know, okay, I need like some module which are also there that can interact with MIDI, for example, with the iPad. And yeah, so that's how this started actually. So I built up my mixing from there, creating my tracks in the app, putting all the tracks from my module into the ES9, into the iPad. And then the first problem appeared. This was like the synchronization, because in the beginning I basically started everything also from here. So you can, in this mixing app, you can also have a start and stop command, which causes the apps that are inside also to start and sync. And of course, also if you have delays and you want to have them in sync, you need to sync everything up together. So that was then the next challenge that came with it. So first thing was working, I could mix with it. I could make music, I could mix with it. I had the controls I wanted to have in my system for the mixer. Okay, that worked. So then the next step was like making it in sync. So, and that was the point where then I basically started searching, and there was an app called Covariant, which you basically put here in a track, in that sense, pulse start start triggers and all that things you need to make this modular system go running. You could like, I could like use it and then use the outputs of the ES9, put it into my sequencers, or hooked it up to the sequencers, and then started from here. This was then running with its time signature and putting it out to the system. And that worked actually. It worked okay. I would not say it was really perfect working. But for me in the beginning, like I said, I wanted to make music, and I was not, it was in a frame where it was okay for me. I think sometimes it went a bit too wild, and I was already thinking, okay, how I'm gonna fix this, and I wrapped my head around for quite a bit and made it tighter and tighter. So like for example, there was they have the slots here. I hope you can see it. Yeah, now they have this slots here in the mixer app calling nodes, and with this you basically can integrate several utility nodes. Let's call them nodes, but it's basically enabled in like a utility channel plugin. And there was one where you could adjust the delay in terms of audio. So I could like adjust in relation to the latency. I could adjust like the delay of the trigger and the pulse signals. And short moment. Yeah, nice. So I had basically a kick drum in my system going, and then I could sync it up to the system by this delays. Took forever actually, but till the end it got tighter and tighter, and it was also okay. Yeah, so that was this task. And now that I had everything in sync, I also started using the iPad as a sound source, basically. Because now with the ongoing sync, I could use apps that are also having a sequencer, for example, and the sequencer would be in time with my system. Nice. So, alright, so fixed the clocking, the mixing got more and more advanced because I can also show you here files. That's one part of iterations of my mixing since 20. Let's go to the other one. Yeah, here. So that's basically iterations of my mixing setups. And it started, the first entry is somewhat from 2021, so you can see there's a lot of iterations happening. Alright, so we have the mixing. We have hooked up also a controller to the mixer to have some control over things. I show them in a second. And yeah, the clocking also working. So actually I'm having now the option to really integrate also apps, and I think I start with a small overview just on the mixer, actually, the mixer environment. And I think at the end what changed to my, okay, let's say I tell it now quickly what changed in the actual system. The actual system made it possible for me to sync via MIDI actually. So I have from the expert sleepers, the ES9 has the possibility to hook up a tiny MIDI breakout that has 3.5 millimeters jacks. And now with my new sequencer, the Flame Takt, I can use MIDI directly into the sequencer. And that works, from my experience, now the most tight. My personal experience. Because I was also writing back and forth with the developer from Covariant, and there are also a lot that use the app, and it works more flawless, let's say. It depends, I guess, also on the individual sequences. I mean, there's also always this big topic of that some sequences start on a high gate, or some wait for the next high gate, something like that. So really nothing to say about it. But now I do it with MIDI, and in my opinion, or in my experience, it works the best, actually, in my case. In my case, so that's the best. Yeah. So you can see already there's quite some tracks, and that's also a thing. That's how I like to do it, actually, and that's how I did grow. But there's no need to do it like this. And I'm also, I also get the point that some say, no, they want to have the purest sound, and they do not do anything about it. But for me, it's also just fun to mix and do that kind of stuff. So yeah, all right, let's start. So let's check the levels. I think I start with the kick. Here I have a high pass filter on the master control. Kick drum is here on channel 1. It has also a channel with an empty out, that is basically the kick drum feeding the compression for the sidechain. I worked for quite a bit for a long time without any sidechaining to as a challenge, basically, to make my thinking about where to place notes, and also my mixing to make it better, because with sidechain it's a trick basically to make things sound good, and also to avoid the colliding of different elements, especially with the kick drum. So yeah, since a bit I'm doing sidechaining again, and in this track you see also the compressor. It's from FabFilter, it's the Pro C2. That's also cool, that with the more powerful iPads, more and more developers start porting their apps to the iPad. And a big bonus is also that the iPad apps are cheaper than the versions on MacBooks. It has somehow to do with the policy in the App Store. Yeah, which is cool, actually. So so the Pro C does sidechaining. I filtered the kick drum here, so that like the low frequency is hitting basically the compressor, and it's also not much. Yeah, you can see it here. Hope here. Yeah, it's really not much. This also gives the sequences a bit more like a edgy kind of feeling, a bit more mechanic. So which I sometimes also like. So yeah, basically a personal taste. Then snare drum. Nothing crazy, actually. Like I said, here in the snare drum I have in the snare drum I have send and return. So send to the delay, send to the reverb. Delay. Also something you might not really need. Reverb. Already more convenient. Alright, that's yeah. So okay, so I have sent in, that's now that I talk about it, I found it out. So this is growing all the time, and there's like a double thing. So I don't use the reverb and delay send. I think I used in the past. but I decided basically to give the snares and claps a little reverb, like an insert effect. And that's also like what it comes to for me personally, that now this is so flexible, I can do this kind of things. Then we have hi-hats, close hi-hat, open hi-hats, subgroup for these two, also with send and with the send to the reverb and delay if I want to. And yeah, then several tracks that are not in use right now. That's also for me the good thing with this setup now, that I still have place to expand and grow, and it's not on its maximum. It's not totally maxed out, let's say it like that. So the simulator has still 4 free tracks. Also you have sound effects in the simulator I used, maybe coming back to this also, but chords for example. And yeah, so I have these tracks here, they are set up, I can plug in something into the ES9 and have then here the tracks. Anyways, would then probably need to mix it again to make it fit to the happening sounds. Also good, there's individual notes for filtering. So here's a high pass filter, which I also include in a lot of tracks. Most of the tracks to filter all frequencies below, yeah, what is it here? Check. Yeah, here it's somewhat 200. I mean, I did now adjust it, but it's like 280. So it's for the tracks individual, but it's basically also cleaning up the mix a bit. And you can basically, there's a module that does the same, which is from Shakmat. I don't know if it's called high pass or something like that. It's just 2 HP, but it has like also the low cuts and the low frequencies, because the low frequencies, low frequencies have a lot of energy, and especially on a big sound system, if the kick really covers most of that energy, that is the first thing that is wanted, and this is for me personally. And the second thing is that it also affects how the end of chain compression, for example, works. So if you feed in all that low, super low frequencies into a compressor, then it also gets dependent working on that low frequencies. Yeah. So here we have the sound effects track that is also not used from the simulator, that I can use at some point again. Then we have here like my first main voice. There's already a bit more going on, also the filtering, also send and return. There is a little bit sent into the delay. I think it's here. And here I basically have the level for my main sequence. You can see that going up and down. It's like just a volume control. And there was a question here from mit 36 Speichen die Welt. First of all, hello, also to you. We have here the question, why using an VCA in the case and also using it here and not using it here in the mixing app. So actually you could do that by with the ES9 and MIDI to CV, CV to MIDI conversation with an app, but this is really like an end of signal control for me. So basically, if we open it up, I mean, the envelope would do this then basically. And first of all, you can already imagine, I mean, you see that here, I do not want to have this on my signal for control. It's not a problem, but I prefer to have it here with a big knob, also with the control. And then of course, this here is more also individual for the sound system, where the music gets played to balance the levels in relation to the kick drum. Which is with the piston under, it's really doable. So I have that. It's my first voice. Second voice is now a plonk. Was a bit for experimenting also, because the takt has a velocity outs and also CV outs, really for the form factor great universal sequencer focused on drums. I have to say, really like it. So the plonk is on the channel 2. This noise kind of sweep comes also from the plonk. Nothing too crazy, both go into the sidechain, and here we have the send and return, reverb, delay. Reverb is also from FabFilter Pro R, and this is from Kinetica. Delay from Kinetica, which are also building the audio mixer. And it's of course, that's what I said in the beginning with the syncing. That was then the first thing that was important for me. Sync it to the BPM. So, and of course, if it's a bit out of sync, it's still okay, but yeah, it's also good to make a decision when you want to have things a bit off and when not, and if it's just, yeah, I like to have that kind of control actually. So then here's my master chain. There is, I mean, I can show you when there's some saturation, really not much. It's basically mimicking kind of hardware, let's say like the Auto Boom, for example, or compression, like the R&R. I also have it here. And I was really thinking, I cannot replace that actually. I was like, I need that thing. Till I played and needed to make decisions, and then I said like, okay, no, I try it all inside, and it worked, and it sounded good to me. So compression, I can just show you quickly that there's really not much compression going on. You see the gain reduction. I hope you can see it here. Has a soft knee. Sorry. Has a soft knee and is really just gluing things a bit together because my sounds are already pretty good compressed. I'm using from the analog rhythm the compressor, for example. Yeah, but that's also parameters I can still pretty quick adjust now here according to the sound system wherever I play. So I have all the controls here. And that's for me also nice that I can do that because it's really not bad to have that option to make sound adjustments at the venue. Here's actually the EQ. It's also the Pro Q from FabFilter, and there's not much going on. You see, just low cut, 22. It starts. Could maybe also a bit more up, but for me always worked. Especially on bigger sound system, you really get that low frequencies then also. And then a bit of EQing, but here also already EQ points with where I can then create different curves. That's, for example, if there's a big resonance somewhere that I need to take out, that's a bit too much. But there's all sorts of the shelf EQs, and there are all sorts of EQ types in it, and that's also something, if there is something going too wild, I can adjust to the sound system pretty fast because I have my sounds all here. And now I'm coming to the last thing that I want to show, or maybe the second last thing. You know what I mean? So the integration with the ES9 and an app like the MyRack app, for example. So for me, I could use this also, for example, as a fixed voltage source, which I did here. Because Sweet 16 actually, without patched anything in, that sends CV from 0 to 8 volt. And for the assimilator, it's good from what I work with to have it from 0 to 5 volt. So I create here a fixed voltage, 5 volt, send it out over the ES9 output into a multiple, and then from the multiple into the inputs that I need for the assimilator, and works super cool. I can now also make other fixed voltage sources. I can go further and integrate all sorts of stuff. I can even integrate LFOs, and I basically have room to I really have room to still grow with the system, but also can say, okay, no, I would just want to focus on one part. And the last thing, that's the app you see quite often. It's from Sugar Bytes, the Egoist app that has several parts, sequenceable effects that are a big part of this. But the main thing is here the this view. So I basically can throw in any sample that I created, and I'm creating. I have phases where I really just do that, like, or record stuff that I'm doing also on the iPad, or for example granular stuff, just like with the other things I have, like the Digitone, for example. I just create that, record it, and then I throw it in here. So that's why I also would call this a little bit experimental, because it's not like fixed loops or anything that you would expect in the first place to create a backbone rhythm, let's say. But I use it for that. So it's basically just in all short, it's a slicing tool with a sequencer. So if you have 16 slices and a 16th note grid, one bar, it puts like each slice and puts the slices on that grid. So you have a rhythmic loop going on pretty fast, even though the first the sample you throw on is not that rhythmic at all. So quick example, that's a sample I created. I think also it's a granular within granular app that sounds now like this, but if I play it, you also hear it bouncing around, and that's how it now sounds. So I think I go, maybe let me know in the comments if I should tell more about this app, why it's perfect for, or why I think it's good for improvising, but altogether then you have like the sounds. Yeah, so that's the setup and how it works, and what I use the iPad for. So I just do a little fade out performance to also show a few things that I'm using. iPad's filter mapped to the master, some modulation effects.